All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to HeartSmarts Community Health Education Series. This is our final session for Women's History Month. Thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Dr. Naa-Solo Tettey. I am the creator and director of the HeartSmarts program at New York Presbyterian Hospital. And we are grateful to have you all here tonight and have your support for this program. Tonight, we have two amazing speakers with us. We have the amazing Dr. Michael Greger and the amazing Doug Evans, who will speak after Dr. Greger. And so the format for the first presentation, you all watched the two videos that were sent from Dr. Greger's team. And then also some of you have been reading How Not to Die or How Not to Age. And so you sent me questions, and I'm going to ask those questions to Dr. Greger. If there are other questions that you have, I can ask them as well, but I'll just give a quick introduction. Michael Greger, MD, is a physician, New York Times bestselling author, and internationally recognized professional speaker on a number of important public health issues. Dr. Greger has lectured at the Conference on World Affairs, the National Institutes of Health, and the International Bird Flu Summit, among countless other symposia and institutions. He has been honored with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine Lifestyle Trailblazer Award. He is the author, like I said, of How Not to Die and How Not to Age, and he is the founder of nutritionfacts.org. And so, as you all can see on the screen, we are big fans of Dr. Greger here, and some of us have had the honor of meeting him in person, and he is just so awesome. And so now I'm going to take the screen down and spotlight Dr. Greger and myself. All right. Welcome, Dr. Greger, to the HeartSmarts community. We're so grateful to have you here today. And so as we were watching and reading How Not to Age, a lot of important information is shared in that book. And one of the concepts that you talk about is autophagy. Would you be able to explain that a little bit more, especially as it relates to exercise?
Sure. Autophagy is kind of the primary system for cleaning the body from the inside out, clearing away accumulated cellular debris that appears to play a role in the aging process. And so one way to boost this cleaning process, help our cells take out the trash, is to fast. Unfortunately, it takes a few days of fasting to really ramp up autophagy, which is too long to go without medical supervision. Thankfully, there's another way to boost autophagy. You can fast or go fast. Exercise induces autophagy, though you have to do enough. 60 minutes of moderate intensity activity like brisk walking can boost autophagy. Sadly, 20 minutes fails to move the needle. But that's good news. We can boost autophagy with exercise. There are also some food components that can both suppress autophagy as well as boost autophagy. One that suppresses autophagy, promotes aging, is called acrylamide, which is a compound, a toxin created in the kind of deep frying process, concentrated in French fries and potato chips, that can suppress autophagy. There are other food components, however, that actually boost autophagy, like something called spermidine and an antioxidant in coffee called chlorogenic acid. And so to help boost this anti-aging pathway, I encourage readers to consider on a daily basis 60 minutes of moderate aerobic activity, minimizing your intake of French fries and potato chips, trying to consume at least 20 milligrams of spermidine a day by incorporating such foods as tempeh, mushrooms, peas, and wheat germ into your diet, as well as drinking 3 cups a day of regular or decaf coffee.
Awesome. And so in the book, you talk about the idea of vegan and vegetarian kind of just being labels, and that perhaps we could say to some vegans that they need to adopt a more plant-based diet. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Sure, we should try to eat primarily plants, not necessarily exclusively plants. A plant-based diet really more about maximizing the intake of the healthiest foods. As physicians, right? Labels like vegetarians and vegans just tell us what our patients don't eat. I mean, just actually eat vegetables. And it doesn't matter what you eat, your birthdays, holidays, special occasions, day-to-day stuff that really adds up. But on a day-to-day basis, we really should try to center our diets around natural foods from fields, not factories, unprocessed plant foods.
Right. And so for some people who have high cholesterol, In one of the videos, there were images showing what a person with high cholesterol, what it might look like in the brain. For someone who the cholesterol perhaps they've been told it's genetic and it's just going to be high, would their brain scan be the same as the person, say, who's just eating a high-fat diet? As the first question. And the second question is there anything that the person with high cholesterol that's genetic can do about that?
There is a rare genetic condition called familial hypercholesterolemia, where, everybody dies in their 20s from massive heart attacks and have, quadruple, digit cholesterols. But when most people say their high cholesterol is genetic, they just mean that, their parents had high cholesterol, died of heart attacks, etc. Well, that's because their parents had crappy diets, just like they have crappy diets, and they have a high cholesterol too. And so, bad diets run in families, as much as genes do. And so here, it's getting darker here. I'm trying to see how I can make myself less cherry colored. I don't know if it's gonna work, but, let me see if I can adjust the temperature here. Oh, that looks even worse. Oh, this looks a little better. It's the sun's just going down here. And so we can decrease our cholesterol by decreasing the three things that increase our cholesterol. One of which is trans fats, partially hydrogenated oils found concentrated in junk food, saturated fat found concentrated in meat, dairy, and junk food, particularly desserts, and also dietary cholesterol. It's found concentrated in egg yolks. And so just by cutting down on those three factors, most people's cholesterol goes right to where we want it, which is under 150 for total cholesterol for primary prevention, and under 70 for LDL cholesterol. But it's a bell curve, and some people don't even have to eat that healthy and have perfect cholesterol. Other people need to take the additional stage of adding foods to your diet that actively pull cholesterol from your body. Dr. David Jenkins at the University of Toronto, an esteemed nutrition scientist, came up with the concept of glycemic index. He came up with a portfolio diet, that's what he called it, which is a portfolio of different cholesterol-lowering foods, like, for example, foods high in soluble fiber, like slimy foods like okra, oatmeal, eggplant, can pull your cholesterol down. And so by adding all these different foods together, he's been able to show the most dramatic dietary cholesterol reduction on the order of statin drugs within a matter of 2 weeks. And so you can change your diet, get retested 2 weeks, see how far you can bring it down. That would be my recommendation. But if you have high cholesterol for any reason, your brain arteries are going to look like that, clogged with cholesterol, which increases our risk of dementia.
And in How Not to Die, you talk about blood pressure, and that we are often taught that healthy blood pressure is 120/80. But what do you say in How Not to Die is what we really should aim for, what number we really should aim for blood pressure?
Yeah, and so we don't want normal blood pressure in a society where it's normal to drop dead of a stroke, right? Just like having normal cholesterol is a terrible thing because the number one killer of men and women is heart disease. So we don't want a normal blood pressure, normal cholesterol. We want an ideal blood pressure, an ideal cholesterol. What I mean by ideal is a no benefit from reducing it further blood pressure. So even at 120/80, reducing blood pressure actually reduces cardiovascular disease risk. And so where it bottoms out, where you get the maximum benefit, is down around 110/70. So that's really should be the target. And you can achieve that with diet and lifestyle, aerobic exercise, decreasing our sodium intake, as well as eating specific foods that lower cholesterol, like brown flax seeds and black sesame seeds and hibiscus tea, on down the list.
Okay, great. And just for everyone who's here, so Dr. Greger is with us for a very limited time. So if you have a question for him, please put it in the chat. In How Not to Die, you talk about chicken and its connection to bladder infections, and gives that whole vivid description about washing the chicken in the sink and how it spreads all of that bacteria. Can you talk about that a little bit because there's a big actually debate about if you are eating chicken, are you supposed to wash it in the first place, and then how you've connected that to the bladder infections?
Oh, yeah, it's really a fascinating story. So there are these so-called uropathic E. coli. There's a certain type of E. coli that cause bladder infections. And then we've known that these are fecal pathogens, E. coli, these are intestinal pathogens, and that creep up from the colon up through the urethra and cause bladder infections. But we didn't know where those bladder infecting E. coli came from originally to colonize the digestive tract until we realized it's coming from primarily poultry, from chicken products. You say, well, wait a second, don't we cook chicken? I mean, who eats raw? I mean, maybe people eat like a burger that's a little pink on the inside, but no one really like eats raw or undercooked chicken. The problem is there's cross contamination. Chicken comes into the home, typically fresh or frozen, and so before it makes it into the oven, it can have contact with cutting boards, with hands, which can touch, refrigerator handles or oven knobs or knives or, all manner of cross contamination. We actually do those studies. We have people bring a chicken to the house that's contaminated with an intestinal pathogen like Salmonella, E. coli, Campylobacter. You find it all over the house. And in fact, that's why the USDA says explicitly do not wash chicken, because by washing chicken, you're splattering droplets of those bacteria all over the sink, all over the counter, all over the sponge, all over everything. And so, in a chicken eating household, there's actually more fecal bacteria from feces in the kitchen sink than there is on the bathroom toilet. It's because people are, washing their chicken in the sink, not the toilet. There's so much fecal bacteria. And that can have serious implications. Salmonella is the leading foodborne illness cause of hospitalization and death. Campylobacter, primarily a chicken related pathogen, which can cause a very serious neurological condition called Guillain-Barré syndrome. And these bladder infecting E. coli. So you eat chicken, or you eat, a salad that had been touching your cutting board that had some fresh chicken on it. And then you end up with this bladder infecting E. coli colonizing your intestinal tract, which can then later lead to a bladder infection. And typically bladder infections, are, irritating, but they're typically self-limited but sometimes can really become serious, can kind of creep up into your kidneys and cause really serious infections. And so it's not something being messed around with. So millions of women every year, particularly women, suffer bladder infections, and they're all originally traced back to what they're eating to colonize the digestive tract with these dangerous bacteria.
Okay, so moving on from chicken, I think perhaps one of the more difficult things for people to quote unquote swallow as they're reading How Not to Age is about the tuna and the salmon, because oftentimes we're told that those are healthier options to eat. But in the book, you talk about the dangers of tuna and salmon. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, well, so unfortunately, our oceans have essentially become kind of humanity's sewer, and it eventually flows into the sea. So, if we had like a time machine to go back for the Industrial Revolution, that'd be one thing. But now the aquatic food chain accumulates the highest levels of chemical pollutants like DDT and PCBs and dioxins. In the US, hundreds of thousands of babies are born every year with brain damage as a consequence of their mothers consuming mercury contaminated fish, which mostly affects the brain. A tuna sandwich would still be better than bologna, than processed meat, but a hummus wrap would be even healthier, as Harvard researchers have found that even just a 3% swap from fish protein to plant protein was associated with a 6% decreased risk of premature death.
Okay. And so in the book, you say that the healthiest or safest level of drinking is none. And there are people who have been told that drinking red wine, at least, is something that is healthy. Can you talk about the reasons why that is not true?
Yeah, well, everyone agrees that heavy drinking, drinking during pregnancy, and binge drinking are bad ideas, but there's been controversy about so-called moderate drinking. Those who tend to live the longest are not the abstainers who drink zero alcohol, but those who imbibe a few drinks a week. Unfortunately, this appears to be an artifact of what's called the sick quitter effect, arising from the systematic misclassification of former drinkers as if they were lifelong abstainers. So the reason that they're non-drinkers in a society that drinks is because they got sick from drinking. So no wonder they have high rates of disease. It's the same reason studies can find that higher mortality rates among those who quit smoking compared to those who continue to smoke, right? It's not the abstention led to poor health, but rather poor health led to abstention. So when you control for that misclassification, that statistical artifact, well, then, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, the World Health Organization, the World Heart Federation, the safest level of drinking is none. Grapes, barley, and potatoes are best eaten in their non-distilled form, and Johnny Walker is no substitute for actual walking.
All right. And so talking about walking, you talk about joint pain in How Not to Age and the benefits of ginger in helping joint pain before perhaps taking medication for it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely remarkable. So a few pinches of the ground ginger you can buy at any store found to significantly improve osteoarthritis symptoms compared to placebo. Osteoarthritis is the leading cause of physical disability among older men and women. And the reason we haven't heard about this is because it's, like 2 cents a day worth of ground ginger, which you can buy at any store. There's just not enough money to be made. But there's simple things like strawberries, ginger, and other natural foods that can significantly improve total knee pain, intermittent knee pain, improve disability, and overall quality of life.
What is the connection between cholesterol and Alzheimer's and dementia?
Oh, yeah, fascinating field. It turns out there's this emerging consensus that what's good for our hearts is good for our heads, because clogging of the arteries inside the brain with atherosclerotic plaque is thought to play a role in the Alzheimer's process. But that's good news, because modifiable lifestyle factors can outweigh the genetic component of Alzheimer's disease. So the same dietary changes that help with cardiovascular health can help with cognitive health. So normalizing blood pressures in hypertensive individuals can prevent cognitive decline. Aerobic exercise can improve brain function, and then decreasing saturated fat intake, eating high flavonoid fruits, vegetables, white oats, berries. The best dementia deterring diet is one that's low in added sugars, salt, saturated fat, animal products, and processed foods, and high in whole plant foods, particularly greens and berries. That may help explain why vegetarians were 3 times less likely to develop dementia compared to the general population.
Okay. And since seafood is not recommended, what's the best source for omega-3 on a whole food plant-based diet?
So we can get so omega-3s are essential fatty acids. We need to get them into our diet, but we can get alpha-linolenic acid, which is omega-3 found in flax seeds and walnuts and chia seeds and hemp seeds, etc. One of the reasons why I recommend a tablespoon of ground flax seeds every day is because that'll get you about 2.2 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, which is all you need for the day. Your body can take those short-chain omega-3s and elongate those into long-chain omega-3s, DHA and EPA, which is found preformed in fish fat. Unfortunately, also, that's where you get the pollutants. So if you want to get preformed long-chain omega-3s, you can just get algae-based DHA supplements. I encourage people to consider 250 milligrams a day of pollutant-free, in other words, algae-based DHA. Although it's not clear that that's necessary. We should we can definitely get enough omega-3s for health, but for optimum health, you may want to get that 250 milligrams of preformed DHA in our diet from algae. That's something that I do and recommend others, particularly older men, do to preserve their cognitive function.
All right. And does contamination of the ocean affect sea plants as well?
Well, most of these pollutants are fat soluble, and since sea vegetables are extremely low in fat, they don't build up those kind of toxins. Now, there's one exception, and that's seaweed called hijiki. spelled with either a J or a Z in the middle. And that actually accumulates arsenic for some reason. I mean, sea vegetables are so good at accumulating trace minerals from the oceans. But unfortunately, it has one mineral you really don't want to get a lot of. And so even the Chinese government says no one should eat Tajiki seaweed. And I certainly agree. And the kelp actually has a little too much iodine. You can actually get too much iodine by eating even modest amounts of kelp. But with those two exceptions, I encourage people to, develop a taste for seaweed. There's the nori sheets that make, like the sushi, which you can just snack on. Or dulse flakes, this mild purple seaweed that comes in flakes. You just sprinkle it on foods. Our maid makes this wonderful kind of noodle-like seaweed you can put in soups. Wakame is used in like seaweed salad. Yeah, so it's really I encourage people to eat sea vegetables because you can get all these wonderful nutrition and they don't have the pollutants, even though it's dredged from the oceans, because this is the bottom of the food chain.
Okay, so in How Not to Die, you talk about you write that it's better to boil or steam meat than to fry them, perhaps. But the question that comes up from that is, should we be eating meat at all? Is there a definitive answer on should we be consuming meat at all? Or no, we shouldn't be consuming it, but if we're consuming it, we should be boiling it or steaming it.
Well, I mean, eating a burger appears to cut one's life as short as smoking 2 cigarettes. So if it wouldn't even occur to us to, light up before and after lunch, maybe we should choose the bean burrito instead. And so, according to the NIH study, the largest study in diet and health in history, swapping out, plant protein for animal protein, even just 3% associated with 10% decreased risk of all-cause mortality. And so the Harvard cohorts found that swapping plant protein for any animal protein, fish protein, chicken protein, egg protein, associated with significantly lower risk of premature death. And so, it doesn't matter what you eat on your birthdays, holidays, special occasions, but on a day-to-day basis, you really should try to eat healthy, eating these, foods, that grow out of the ground, essentially, these whole unprocessed plant foods. But if you do eat meat, you can definitely cut down on these advanced glycation end products, which are toxins created when you expose meat to high, dry temperatures. So like baking or grilling or barbecuing. And so something like stewing or steaming would be less harmful.
Okay. Last two questions. Lentils are a super health food. What
Woo!
happens when you so I guess this question is coming from Doug. What happens when you sprout lentils?
They get even healthier. So you start with something super duper healthy, they get even healthier. What's nice is you can just snack on them. Sprouted lentils are a fantastic, delicious snack. They're so easy to make, so dirt cheap. It's just amazing.
All right. Is there a plant-based source of B12?
There is not a reliable plant-based source of B12. So we need to get it all from B12. I mean, they're not animal-based sources of B12. The B12 is not made by plants, not made by animals, it's made by little bacteria that blanket the earth. So we used to get B12 drinking out of a mountain stream or well water or something. We now would chlorinate the water supply to kill off any bacteria. So you don't get a lot of B12 in our water anymore. Don't get a lot of cholera either. That's the good news. We live in such a nice sanitary world. Our fellow great apes get all the B12 they need from, eating bugs, dirt, and feces. I prefer supplements. 2,000 micrograms of cyanocobalamin, which is the most shelf-stable form of vitamin B12 once a week. It's all you need. Costs less than $5 a year. Get all the B12 you need. You can also get them B12 fortified foods, but supplements probably easier. Then starting at age 65, 1,000 micrograms once a day, because our ability to absorb B12 declines with age.
Okay. And are there any recommendations that you have for someone who has hyperthyroidism?
Hyperthyroidism?
Yes, let
Well,
me
we
just
treat
read
the
the question.
cause.
Hypothyroidism.
Hypothyroidism. Well, ideally we treat the cause. So if the reason you have underactive thyroid glands because you have an iodine deficiency, well, you need iodine. But typically it's caused by kind of a autoimmune scarring of the thyroid gland called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. In which case, one may be left with such limited gland function that you may need to be on thyroid hormone replacement therapy the rest of your life, like Synthroid. But in terms of those eating healthier are less likely to develop thyroid disorders. This was found in the Adventist study. So you're more likely to be euthyroid, meaning healthy, normal thyroid function, those eating plant-based diets. Once you already have it, you may not be able to restore function through diet and lifestyle alone.
Okay, so in our last minute, is red rice yeast recommended for high
Don't do
cholesterol?
it. Don't do it because it contains mycotoxins. It contains these dangerous fungal toxins that can be damaging to the liver. Don't do it. Stay away from it.
Okay, and how should we use the ginger for arthritis? Can we cook it or leave it raw?
Oh, actually, you should make it dry, not fresh. Because it's actually the dry. There's the dehydration products of the so-called gingerols called show gels, which are only created when you dehydrate garlic. So ground ginger, dry ginger powder. In terms of how to use it, you can just like sprinkle it in hot water, kind of drink it like tea. Or you can put the capsules, you can put it in a smoothie. I like making this really like delicious kind of sweet potato smoothie. It almost tastes like kind of pumpkin pie. So it's basically like microwave sweet potato, chopped into chunks, frozen. They take that out, and it gives it really nice milkshakey consistency. And you mix that with some berries and some ginger powder and some kind of pumpkin pie spice kind of stuff. And it's just this really delicious smoothie. That's one way you can do it.
All right, awesome. Well, Dr. Greger, thank you so much for joining us. We've been trying to get you on for some time. And for those of you who are just entering your questions now, I'm sorry. I told you to put them in at the beginning, so maybe Dr. Greger will be back at another time. But Dr. Greger, do you want to share with them perhaps your books and website or anywhere else where they can find information?
All my work is available free at nutritionfacts.org. You can go to your local public library to check out my books, and all proceeds that are received from the sales of all my books is all donated directly to charity. Keep up the good work. Thanks so much. Looking forward to coming back.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Greger. And you all can
Thank
unmute
you,
really
Dr.
quickly.
Greger.
Thank you, Dr. Greger.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Dr. Greger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Greger.
you
God bless you.
Thank you.
so much.
Awesome, awesome.
All right, everyone. So we are moving right along. And I don't even think this person needs an introduction at this point. I think Doug is an official member of the HeartSmarts family at this point. But our favorite, Doug Evans, is back with us this evening to share again his passion for sprouts and sprouting. And Doug, there's some people here who don't know you who are also new to the HeartSmarts family. So you're going to have to do your whole spiel again about how much you love sprouts and how important they are for our health. But really quickly, I just want to read your introduction. So Doug Evans, revolutionary solution for the consumption of daily nutrients is one that disrupts the billion-dollar vitamin and supplement manufacturing industry. A wellness practitioner and serial health food entrepreneur, Evans is the author of the Sprout book. He has been featured on Dr. Oz, Deepak Chopra, Brian Wendell, and he's been featured on HeartSmarts. And he's featured here again tonight. So Doug, welcome back. And after Doug finishes presenting, there is a project that he would like us to work with him on. He's interested in seeing the benefits of sprouts on people's health kind of over a long-term period. And so as you all listen to him tonight, if you feel like you would like to be involved in something like that, to be followed to see if you sprout consistently the health improvements that you make, please let me know. But Doug will talk more about that. So everyone, welcome back to HeartSmarts, Doug Evans.
Thank you so much. I love this community and the power of the speakers. And I saw that Coach Kiwi is in the house. So you really have like unbelievable reach and unbelievable passion. So big shout out to you, Dr. Tettey, and also to New York Presbyterian Hospital for supporting your work in doing this community outreach, because it really, really makes a difference. And so, my background, was like I grew up in the streets of New York City. I didn't go to college. I ate the standard American diet of junk food and processed food and meat and chicken and animal products and fried food. And I was just like living to eat and living to make money. And then I encountered this tragic experience where my aunt got type 2 diabetes and she was overweight, became obese, and then they had to perform a double amputation of her feet below her ankles. And that to me was the most tragic. I couldn't even envision or ideate what it would be like if I didn't have my agency to walk and what my life would be like. And then she died soon after. And then my uncle died of heart disease, and my mother died of stomach cancer, and my father died of heart disease, and my brother was following right in the footsteps of my aunt. He became overweight, obese, diabetic, but then he had the first stroke. So he's now had 3 strokes and 2 heart attacks, and he's challenged. And what I see is there's really 2 types of people in the world. Like, if I really want to simplify, the people who are just following the motions and following their families, their friends, and their history. And then there's other people who take their lives under their own control. And like, I can't control what anyone else does, but I can control what I do. And so I made a decision in 1999, almost 26 years ago, that I was going to choose the best decisions for me, whether I liked them or not. Like, I was going to figure out a way of how to do it. And the ripple effect that they've had was unbelievable. So these small little steps, right? Because, in the course of 24 hours, we sleep for 8 hours. Maybe we eat for an hour or 2 hours. So if we can control the window of what we eat, and we can take this holistic approach to our lifestyle, what Dr. Greger was talking about, just walking briskly for 1 hour a day, can have this positive impact. And just choosing to eat something fresh over something processed, and to eat something plant-based over eating something that's kind of rotting and decaying and putrefying. These choices really empower us. And, the science of dietary habit and change is that the more we do it, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And with every temptation resisted, we get stronger and stronger and stronger. And every barrier that we overcome empowers us and gives us the confidence to do more. And so there's this whole thing, but it's not just about what we eat. It's about the community that we are around. It's about our friends and our family are one thing, but like, I look at HeartSmart as a community that I raised my hand and I say, I want to be part of this community because this community rocks. Like, people in this community, they want to change, they want to have the information, and they celebrate their progress. And so if you take a long-term perspective, like, you can fast for a day and maybe drop 1 or 2 pounds, but that's not going to really have a material difference in your life. What's going to change your life is by setting yourself up for success and taking a long-term perspective and envisioning who you want to be and believing that you could be that person that you want to be. So when I was 36 pounds overweight and I couldn't breathe through my nose because I was getting all the phlegm and the mucus, from the dairy and the refined sugar that I was eating, that I went to I grew up in New York City, and I went to the New York Ear, Nose, and Throat Hospital. And I waited 6 weeks for an appointment with the #1, because I want the best, right? So even before I was vegan or anything, I wanted the best. I went and saw the #1 surgeon at the New York Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Hospital. And I sat there and I waited patiently. And I said, look, I can't breathe through my nose. I heard about this procedure called, a deviated septum can be surgery. And then he comes out with like an album, looked like a college alumni album, high school alumni. And I said, what's that? He goes, well, why don't you pick out what you want your nose to look like? And I said, no, I'm fine with my nose. I wanted to do, and he said, well, since we're going to be cutting it, we can do some shaping as well. And I turned red in the face. I was apoplectic. Like, I couldn't believe that here I am, like, I want to breathe better, and he wants to do facial and cosmetic surgery on me. And so I like ran out of there, and I told that story to my friend, and he said, you can take this holistic approach to that. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, maybe there's some exercises that you can do. Maybe there's some dietary changes that you can make. And this was 5 years before I was vegan, and I eliminated dairy. And I went to this specialist, and all of a sudden I was able to breathe clearly. It was such a relief to be able to breathe through your nose. It was like priceless for me to be able to breathe. And, I used to chew and eat, and I couldn't breathe through my nose. So I sounded like a slob. Like, I would go on a date and I was debating, how can I process my meal without like sounding like Jerry Seinfeld, at a dinner party. It was disgusting. And then all of a sudden now I could dignify myself and eat properly. But 5 years later, I realized that that was one thing, elimination of dairy. But the next thing was when I eliminated all animal products and I started eating fresh, ripe fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, seaweeds, and sprouts. That's when my life like exploded into bliss, that I developed this energy, this mental clarity, this confidence, this sovereignty that like I never would have to worry about food again, because plants are ubiquitous, they're easy. And that was the seed was planted about sprouting a long time ago. And so I've been eating raw plants for now almost 26 years. April 6th, 1999 will be 26 years. And I loved my fruit. I loved my sprouts and my salads. But it was only about 7 years ago that I moved into a tent in the desert because I want to be in nature. And you could see right now, I don't know if you could see these trees over here. These are beautiful trees. I'm on family vacation, spring break with my family. We're in Yosemite Park, and I drove and I found a place where I could have good connection, because this is so important to me to be part of this. But I love being in nature. So I decided I want to move into nature. So I moved into a tent in the desert. And I realized not only was I in the desert, I was in a food desert. And there were no health food stores, no farmers markets, no supermarkets, no vegan restaurants. There was nothing healthy. So I asked the universe, and that's the number one thing I always remembered, that ask and you shall receive. And the universe provide the answer. How can I live this healthy lifestyle if I don't have access to all these other amenities and conveniences and trappings that I was accustomed to? And what happened was the universe said, Doug, you know how to sprout. You can grow your own sprouts. And so I got these 6 mason jars, and in 1 cubic foot, I was able to grow thousands of calories a day of sprouts. And so to tell you what a sprout is, it's a seed, it's a grain, it's a legume that you soak. And when you soak them, you germinate them. And by germinating them, you remove the enzyme inhibitors, the phytic acid, the lectins, and you unleash the potential of Mother Nature, that this seed is going through a metabolic transformation from this dormant living organism into this living foods. Now, you can imagine when I go into, say, Whole Foods or a supermarket, they have tens of thousands of items in there. Almost everything in there is dead, from every shelf, and even the fruit. Like if you're getting a piece of fruit, it's already on the path to dying. When you're eating a sprout, it is alive. It is enzymatically active. It is growing. It is multiplying in size in days. And seeds have this life potential inside of them. They contain the endosperm, the embryo, the testa, the seed coat. And when you soak them and you germinate them, the first thing that happens is a root and a shoot spring forth outside of them. It is a miracle that's happening right in front of your eyes. And when you can fall in love with the food that you grow, you start to crave it. And when you become aware of how you feel. So I don't want to say anything about these diet drugs or these other methods of Ozempic and semaglutide and everything else. But I can tell you that every pill has a side effect. And none of these pills are curing anything. At best, they are stabilizing the body, trying to bring it to homeostasis, getting you back to a normal level, right? But you can do that in a very holistic approach by movement and exercise, by eating. And sprouts are something that you can do every single day. You can do them inexpensively, affordably, and there's enormous variety. So I started doing alfalfa sprouts and mung bean sprouts, and I ended up doing alfalfa, radish, clover, broccoli, chia, lentils, peas, fenugreek. There were so many different varieties that I was challenged with, like, oh, what do I get to eat today? Which sprouts am I going to have the opportunity to consume? And at one point, I was thinking, oh, how do I dress them up a little? So I got all these different sauces. I got balsamic vinegar, I got tomato sauce, I got sriracha sauce, I got tahini. And so I'd make these sauces, and sprouts went from being this little garnish on the side of a plate to being the center of my plate. And then Dr. Greger talked about sea vegetables. I started to wrap my sprouts with a little sauce in nori seaweed. And then I was all of a sudden content. And because I wasn't adding sugars, I wasn't adding fats, I wasn't adding oils, the part of my brain that was addicted to the stimulus of that processed food and the salt and the oil and the sugar, that went down. And all of a sudden I started to crave the healthy things, the health promoting things. And I lost 36 pounds. But more importantly, I started to fall in love with myself. I started to fall in love with other people, with animals, with nature, with my friends. And my mental clarity became unbelievable, that I was able to, even though I never went to college, I barely got through high school, I wrote a 288-page book, 60,000 words, that was published by a major publisher that's now in the 10th printing with tens of thousands of copies sold. And I'm on my purpose. My purpose is to help people help themselves to transform their health. So I'm going to take a breath, because I don't think I've breathed through my little intro, and I'm going to turn over back to Dr. Tettey.
Okay. But Doug, it's good that you didn't take a breath, because I want them to really feel your passion for these sprouts, because I have never seen anything like it. And people are saying in the chat that just hearing you right now, they've never sprouted before, but it's making them want to sprout as well. And that's what we want. I put a note in the chat that if you have sprouted, and a lot of you have, you've gone through the first round with us that we started last year, please, if possible, if you want to come off mute and share with those in attendance what the sprouting has been like for you. I know Ms. Paulette, Ms. Yeka, Ms. Sharon, you all are active sprouters, Ambassador Sandra. So if any of you want to share with people who might be thinking about doing it, or might be concerned maybe if they're not able to do it, if you want to raise your hand and I will call on you, or you can share it in the chat. But we would like a few people to come on camera and share what their experience have been. And even if I didn't call your name and you'd like to share, please do. All right, so Ms. Sharon is going to come on. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm not a person that have a green thumb per se, so I was very apprehensive about sprouting. But once going through it and sprouting, it is the easiest thing. And you find yourself, before you ever even get to like day 2, eating the sprouts out of the jar, and you're constantly sprouting. And then when you go and you realize that you're eating live food, and if you've ever purchase sprouts in the grocery store, not only are they pretty expensive, you tend to be a little bit afraid about some of them because of the contamination that has occurred, but you know that they're not contaminated because you are doing it yourself. And just doing it has just been, it's wonderful. And I put sprouts on everything in my smoothies, and I even have my son sprouting now.
Excellent.
Wow. Wow. That's all I want to say, Sharon. Wow.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Ms. Yeka, you can go ahead.
Good evening, good evening. Yes, I love the sprout, and just like Sharon, in the beginning, little worried, because you read stories about the mole and we went through this whole process, and it was just so very easy, but it was also very enjoyable. Just being with the plant and nurturing it, the seeds, just being and watching it, just rinsing, and you come back, and it's a little, and you come back. And so I just really, really enjoy it. And I can take sprouts out of my jar, and I come back in the evening, and the ones that were in there have grown a little bit more. So it doesn't look like I've taken any out. It's just a good experience. And it's nice to be around the live plants, because I call them plants, because I take care of the plants.
Yeah,
Awesome.
beautiful. Well, Yetka, I've seen a little of your journey, and you've just transformed, and you should be so proud of yourself for you taking control of your destiny and your future. And the plants love you, and they are there for you.
Awesome. All right. So Doug, I think that's a nice segue into the process of sprouting. And since you talked about the benefits initially, I think when we did it together last year, people were kind of nervous about whether they could do it or not. And I think now it would maybe be good to talk about the process, and then I can bring up, when you're ready, the sprouting company, so people can see what the options are for help. And just to give everyone some more context, when we did it last year, we all did it together. We actually met Doug through a company called Perfect Foods, who came in to teach us how to sprout through Zoom. And we ordered our seeds through them initially. But since then, everybody's kind of branched off, and now we're working with the sprouting company, which is Doug's company, that he has the sprouting kits and the seeds and all of that. So he's just going to talk about how do you sprout? What is the process of doing that?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tettey. So the process of sprouting has really been around since the beginning of time. There's history and evidence of people sprouting 6,000 years ago, and all of these seeds have life force in them. They are the reproductive part of the plants. So if you think about, like, an acorn can sprout and grow into an oak tree that is hundreds of feet tall and can produce 10,000 acorns, like, that is the potential of the power of the multiplication of this sprouting energy. So one of the things is you take these seeds, and the seeds are dry, right? They naturally dry out. And when you're drying them, that is nature's preservative. So they found seeds that have been over 1,200 years old that will still sprout and germinate. So we're getting seeds. And like I said, all these small seeds can sprout, and they're all like health foods. And we're eating lentils and sesame seeds and sunflower seeds in all these variety of ways. And people cook things, they roast them, they salt them. And what sprouting is, like, when I asked the question to Dr. Greger, and he's a inspiration for me. I love his books, I love his work, and he has a couple of the sprouting kits. When I interviewed him for the book, and I interviewed all these people, medical professionals, for the book, I realized that when you sprout a lentil, you triple the vitamin C activity, you triple the antioxidant levels, and you're quadrupling the soluble and insoluble fiber. And the insoluble fiber is what helps feed the healthy microbiome. So the more diversity you're getting in the microbiome, this is opening up all these other pathways to health. And so the insoluble fiber is what sweeps the colon, what gives you a high quality movement. And the soluble fiber is what helps become the probiotic in the gut microbiome. So when you take something as simple as a lentil, and which is already a healthy food, but when you soak it and you sprout it, so the process is, and I'll give you the lentil ones, and Yetka says she loves lentils. You take the lentils, and I'm going to use even numbers. You take 1 cup of lentils, and I prefer to get organic lentils that were designed for sprouting because they're fresher and you will get a higher germination rate. But what I will say is you can get your equipment. There's a whole chapter in my book, and the Sprout book is on Amazon on sale now for $12. And there's a whole chapter in the book called Junkyard Dog, where I talked about not having a lot of sprouting equipment. I'm living in my tent. So I was using plastic containers, potato, pasta sauce jars. I was using cheesecloth. I was using colanders. I was using anything because I knew that if I washed and sanitized those items and I put the seeds in there, the seeds want to sprout. They want you to eat them. They want to make you healthy. So the process was you could take 1 cup of lentils, you put them in a glass jar, and I prefer glass, and I've been a proponent of glass for 30 years. Now the evidence is coming out of why glass is better than plastic because of these microplastics and nanoplastics that are showing up in the blood and in all of our internal organs. So I will take 1 cup of lentils, I will add them to a jar, and let's just call it a quart jar of mason jar, sprouting company jar, any number of jars. You put it in, and then you add 2 cups of water, and you let it sit for 8 hours. And then at the end of the 8 hours, the sprouting company, there's a stainless steel rust-proof filter that you screw on the top of the lid, but you could use cheesecloth, you could use a stocking as long as you sanitize it. But you could use anything to strain out the extra water, and then you rinse the seeds, the lentils again, and then you leave them at an angle so that the extra water flows out. And then you do that process twice a day, so every 12 hours. And then you can start eating them like Sharon was saying, on day 3 and day 4. And what happens is you take some out, and then by the end of the day, whatever you took out has been replaced because the sprouts are actively growing. So that's the process. And so one easy thing to do is to replace your normal beans or your normal lentils with sprouted versions of those, and you're going to increase the nutrition. Now, one of the things I love about sprouts is that you can grow them without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer, and they grow in days. And even the most expensive sprouting seeds are still under $1 a serving once you grow the sprouts, because you can take 1/4 cup of alfalfa seeds or broccoli seeds or radish seeds, and they will form 6 cups of sprouts. So sprouting is one of these rare miracles where when you're actually growing your own sprouts, you're getting something fresher than vegetables you can buy in the grocery store. You're getting something that is 20 times more nutritious than mature vegetables that you can buy at the farmer's market or the health food store. And you're getting something that you created. So you get to be part and parcel and co-creator in the life of these sprouts of creating your own food. And so this is something that when you eat sprouts, the more sprouts you eat, the more full you will feel, and the more weight you will lose if you want to lose weight, because sprouts are high fiber, low calorie, low fat. So this is like an unbelievable, perfect formula for optimizing weight loss. Now, I don't need to lose any more weight. I am at my perfect weight, and I eat as many sprouts as I want until I'm not hungry or full, because the extra fiber I just passes through and keeps everything moving, and it's forming healthy red blood cells, healthy white blood cells, and it's helping with my insulin resistance. And so I have the energy, because ultimately everything that you eat, in order to derive the nutrition, it must be converted into a liquid form. And that's why it's so important to chew your food. You see the food, and as I say, I look at the sprouts and I look at them with adoration and with love. And I go, wow, these sprouts are going to help me become the healthiest version of myself. And my mouth starts to water even before I eat them. And then I chew the sprouts every bite, 30 chews, 40 chews, 50 chews, because I know that I want to break them down, because you put something large into your stomach, it's going to sit there and you're going to require the internal acids, which is why the number one over-the-counter drugs in America, Tums, Rolaids, Pepto-Bismol, Alka-Seltzer, all these things, these antacids, because the body is generating acid in order to break down these foods. Now, most of that is breaking down processed food, meat, dairy, chicken, and animal products. What I'm trying to do is help my own body process and digest this fibrous food. So the more you chew it, the easier it will be to digest and to derive the nutritional benefits of these foods. So the way I look at sprouts is, number one, sprouts are vegetables. And to me, vegetables are food. They're my favorite food. Number two, sprouts are vitamins and minerals. Now, there's a whole $100 billion supplement industry where people are selling multivitamins, protein powders, omega-3 supplements, all of these things. When I realized, and I had the awakening and the clarity and the confidence that I could get everything that I needed from sprouts. Now, the exception that Dr. Greger mentioned was vitamin B12. You can get vitamin B12 from a supplement. And if you're really healthy and you're out in nature, you can get your vitamin B12 from naturally occurring bacteria. It's just unpredictable. So the wise people are recommending vitamin B12. The other thing that's important to have is, I don't care where you are in the world, get some natural sunlight. So get some sun, be out in the sun. And the darker your skin is, the more you have to be in the sun in order to get the benefits of the vitamin D. So vitamin D and vitamin B12 are something that you cannot get from food. Vitamin D you can in some white mushrooms or the like, but it's unpredictable. So the most important thing to do is to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. And so what I was suggesting to Dr. Tettey is that this message for sprouting is new, but it's really not. It's been around since the beginning of time. And what I wanted to do is make sure that people were aware that sprouting was there, and there's no better way to share someone's journey. So I want to support anyone in this group that wants to transform, that wants to sprout, that wants to tell their story, that wants to inspire other people. I want to be here, and I want to support them with Dr. Tettey on this journey of how people can get healthy by changing your lifestyle. And it's not just sprouts, because if you're just eating sprouts and you're in a toxic relationship, you hate your job, you're not exercising, it's not going to give you the best life ever. This is a holistic approach where you get to change all aspects of your life. But I do believe that everything that you put in your body is a life or death decision, that every cell in your body, every fluid in your body, all of your healthy red blood cells, white blood cells, lymphatic fluids, everything is constructed from the dietary nutrition that you get to consume, aka the food. So my recommendation, my hallucination is that the choose to eat the highest quality nutrition on a per calorie basis. And that is the number one act of self-love that you can have, because if you're taking care of what you're eating and you're taking care of your thinking and your friends, then your life will become whatever you want it to be.
Awesome. All right. So everyone, I feel like we all want to just start sprouting right now. We're gonna have to wait a little bit. I'm gonna put a link in the chat, and I'm gonna put it in there a couple of times. Every time I ask you all to sign up, some of you are really good at following instructions and you do, some of you don't, and you get left out. So I am putting a link in the chat. If you are in the HeartSmarts program currently, we're all going to be doing this together anyway. This will be part of the lifestyle group in May, so you all don't have to worry about it if you are a registered member of the HeartSmarts program right now. If you are not, then you should click on that link. If you've just been coming to the Monday meetings where you're not currently active in HeartSmarts and you want to be in this project with Doug, then you should click on the link that's in the chat and fill out, there's like 4 questions, fill that out. And so now, Doug, I'm gonna pull up your website because people are asking where do they get the kit from? Just give me one moment. And so Doug is gonna make a special code for the HeartSmarts community. And so when we pull up this website, don't buy anything just yet. I'll send out the code to everyone once Doug sends it to me. So this is the Sprouting Company. Right, and then Doug, you can just walk me through it. So I'll just scroll down and you can just talk about what's here.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that why, for 7 years, I shared information about sprouting just as a hobby and to support the community. But so many people were asking, where do I get my seeds? Where do I get my sprouting kits? People wanted larger jars. They wanted, good airflow. They wanted to be pretty and to look well designed on their countertops. They want to know where their seeds came from. So I went through a process of organizing the best of the best, for this journey. So on one thing is the kit. It's the funniest thing. Like I've gone over to people's houses and they're using a football tee to hold a football up, to hold the sprouting jar, or an iPad stand, or they're having it in a bowl. And so this kind of kit is everything that you need at the right proportions with a stainless steel measuring cup and a big glass jar. So this jar creates at least 6 cups of sprouts and a little drip tray, and it's pretty. And then all the seeds, that are featured here are all organic. They've all been tested for pathogens and they've all been tested for germination rate, because I found, if I got seeds and I didn't know what the germination rate was, sometimes only 10 or 20 or 30% of the seeds would actually sprout because they were old, they came from the bulk bin and the like. So I wanted to make sure that everything was like 90% or greater germination rate. And then I took the knowledge that I created, the book with, and I created a little sprouting app to help people on their journey of how to sprout. So they could actually say, oh, I'm starting with broccoli sprouts and I'm on day 1, and would walk people through the process, and then even send them a little notification. Hey, remember to rinse your seeds and go through it. So it's really simple. And I think that's what's reflected, on the website.
Okay. All right. And so when someone is buying it, is there a specific kit they should get? Should they get all of the seeds? Is there one they should start with?
Well, if you click on the kits, I put together 3 basic kits to start with. There's a broccoli and salad mix kit, which broccoli, and I don't know if you know this, and this was the 3rd reason why I love sprouts. Sprouts are medicine, and there are more than 2,000 peer-reviewed published studies on the medicinal properties of broccoli sprouts. So not only for weight management and for reversing of diabetes and regulating insulin levels, but there's also for detoxifying benzene and air pollutants from the lungs, to creating heat shock proteins in the brain that lessen the symptoms of autism. So there's this whole like body of research just focused on the sprouts. So that's where, there's a straight broccoli sprout kit if someone's interested in just the broccoli sprouts, but the lentils and green peas, those are really food-based because people are familiar with the protein content of lentils and green peas, the antioxidant levels of the colors of the lentils and the green peas, but also, the fiber part, and they become very filling when you eat them. They're very hearty. So these are the basic kits. There's a broccoli starter kit, there's a broccoli salad mix starter kit, and then there's lentils and green peas. And, you're asking me about like my children, right? I love all of these. And I really think that you can't go wrong with those. What's most important is to follow your intuition and your gut to see what feels right for you, at this time.
Okay, great. And like I said, everyone, Doug is going to send a code, so don't buy it just yet. However, Doug, if there's anyone here who's like, I just don't have any extra money right now, we all started with mason jars from Target, Walmart, mason jars, and then we got the mesh cover either from Target or Walmart, or you can get it on Amazon. So it's not anything to be cost prohibitive for anyone, but this kit is just really a nice kit to have if you're able to get it. And it takes away, I forgot, I used to lean my stuff on some weird things as well, my sprouts, to get the angles. But if you have this, you don't have to do that. So it's nice to have if you can get it, but we never want anyone to feel like they can't do something if they can't afford it. So this is just an option, and Doug will provide a code that will decrease the price as well.
Well, yeah, and the code is HeartSmarts. So just one word, HeartSmarts, and it's a 20% discount code. And then also, if someone is very serious and they really want to transform and they want to commit, to daily updates and weekly updates, and sprouting every day, we can figure out a way, to provide you with the equipment and with the seeds and the journey, and, chronicle your journey. And I'm not saying we're going to make you famous, but the goal is to help inspire as many people as possible, because nothing is more powerful than seeing a personal transformation and a personal success story for someone. So I'm so excited to participate in it. And, this is something that's so important to me that I said to Dr. Tettey when she told me about this call, I said, look, I think I'm going to be, I don't know where I'm going to be, right? My family is up on 6,000-foot elevation on some mountain, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, with my sprouts sitting here. But this is something that I'm committed to helping anyone who wants to help themselves on the journey of health transformation. And we can have access to additional medical support or the like to make sure that everyone feels safe in this journey.
Okay, great. And so Coach Kiwi is here because she is going to be sprouting with us. And so Coach Kiwi said what you should do for now. I think the first instruction for everyone is to get your kit. So you can't do anything if you don't have your kit. So we're going to give everyone about 2 weeks to get the kit. And then perhaps Doug will come back. And just for the sake of everyone being on the same page, we will do a live demo of how to do it properly and kind of the things to look out for and all of that. You should also get the sprout book. So over the next 2 weeks, you are making sure you have whatever materials you're going to need to be sprouting, and then also get a copy of the sprout book, because I think it's important to understand why you're doing it and the benefit of doing it. And so the book is very clear about that. And so those will be the initial steps. Again, everyone who's a current member of HeartSmarts, this will be open to you. If you are not a member of HeartSmarts, you should fill out this short registration in this link. And then for those of you who kind of have done this already and are really good at it, Miss Yeka, Miss Sharon, Miss Paulette, Ambassador Sandra, you will kind of be coaches in this space. It's a loose term, but really kind of helping people along who need it, perhaps being a resource to them to help them initially. And there was a question, is the app that you offer free, Doug, the app for
Yes,
Sprouted
yes.
Company? Okay, great. And so just looking through for some other questions, someone said that they tried to sprout, I think, the lentils and they had some itching in the throat. And so is there anything that you suggest for that?
How many days, how many days were they sprouting and what was the process they used and where did they get the lentils?
Okay, so Sister Helene, you can answer that. And then can you grow beet sprouts?
Yes.
Okay. Do you drain the sprouts after 8 or 12 hours? And do you add more fresh water and keep them in water? And this is the stuff we'll go over in 2 weeks when we do the live demo, but you can answer that now if you'd like. So
Um,
do you drain them after 8 or 12 hours and do you add more fresh water or keep them in water?
You soak them for the first 8 hours, then you drain. And I like to feed my plants, with the extra water, but then at each subsequent rinse is you're really just wetting them so they can absorb the water that they need and strain out the rest. So you do one soak and then the rest is you are showering and bathing them, but definitely draining them at the end of each cycle.
Okay. Can I benefit from purchasing organic alfalfa sprouts from Whole Foods Market? And Doug, can you talk about alfalfa sprouts a little bit in terms of what we hear for them possibly being dangerous?
I mean, the things that are dangerous are guns. The things that are dangerous are E. coli. The things that are dangerous are, processed meats, etc. The research, and I went really deep on this. I don't think there's anyone on this call, anyone I've ever met in my entire life that could eat enough alfalfa sprouts that could trigger a level of toxicity in them. So there's just, this isn't a conspiracy, right? I don't believe that the food companies are in cahoots with the drug companies and the government. I don't believe that. I think that all these people are just out for themselves and they will make up stuff that serves their own purposes and it all looks like one big conspiracy mishmash. But the thing is, it's all their self-interest and everybody is lobbying the government, right? Like if the meat industry didn't lobby the government to get the farm bill, it would cost like $35 to make a hamburger. But because they're subsidizing growing the corn and all of this, and if you think about like everyone loves Warren Buffett, right? Very impressive businessman, but he owns the farmland, he grows corn, he makes sugar, and then he owns Coca-Cola and See's Candy and McDonald's, right? So he's profiting on 100% of the exploitation of individuals that are willing to surrender their free will, to the advertising marketing part. So in my world, when they talk about the mold, and I did a post on my Instagram, I did a post on my TikTok, what most people are talking about as mold are actually healthy root hairs that are just the plant wanting to get more water. It's not mold. So the madness of getting people to walk around with a gallon of Purell and constantly sterilize yourself with drugs, with antibiotics, with processed food, with pasteurized food. These are why we've never had a more unhealthy society. And what I want to do is just invite a select few people to say, hey, I can take back my health. I'm going to be in nature. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to sleep well. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to hug people. And I'm going to start to experience bliss of this magic of life that we've been all blessed with because anyone who's on this call is blessed. Like every one of you won the ovarian lottery. You're living in 2024 and you have access to Zoom and you're getting this information. And wherever you are in your life, you can improve, you can get better, you can transform.
Awesome. So everybody, we're ready to do this, right? So this is going to be our project together. We have Coach Kiwi coming on in different aspects, which I think is all divine timing, right? All of this is happening at the same time. And so I hope you all are excited about this. I'm really grateful to Doug for really embracing the HeartSmarts community, because we took on that Sprouts and we really did it and enjoyed it. And so I think for some of us, maybe we fell off track and we're not doing it as much. And so this will help us kind of bring that back into our lives. I shared with Doug that we did the 40-day juice cleanse, went into the raw. So this is a perfect time to add the Sprouts back as well. And so you all have the link to Doug's website in the chat. It's thesproutingcompany.com. And then the code for the discount is HeartSmarts. And then there is a link if you want to, if you're not in the HeartSmarts program and you'd like to be a part of this. Now, if you know for sure that you would like your journey to be chronicled in some way, then send me an email, because there'll be no way for me to know that. So if there's there'll be a special group, perhaps of people that we're following. And for those people, you don't have to be starting for the first time. So even if you're an expert, but you want to see what happens now if you're sprouting every single day and doing everything else that Doug says, because Doug said he wants to come to New York and meet us in person. And so that means Coach Kiwi has to come too, and we have to do a kick abs class with Doug while we're eating Sprouts. I think that will be the full circle moment for all of this. So stay tuned. There's more to come, but I hope you guys are excited. And, you know, here we go. We're going to do this. So if you have any questions, please send me an email. I put Doug's Instagram account in the chat as well. And are there any final questions? You can raise your hand or put it in the chat. Sister Cutie, I know you had your hand up. Sorry about that. If you're still here, I'm going to ask you to come off mute if there was something you wanted to say. So Sister Cutie, if you're there, you can start speaking if you'd like.
Here. It's amazing that we are doing this class. Let me get myself off mute. Hold on. No, you couldn't. Yes, it's amazing that we are doing this class. Now, I have my friend here sitting with me, Sister Lisetta, and believe me, I bought some. Can you bring the sprouting kit I bought for you? And here is my book. And she just came over to pick up her kit. They are here since 2 weeks because I'm telling her about the sprouting that I'm eating. I just celebrated my 74th birthday. I'm on no medication. Food is my medicine. So sprouted. I just gave her a salad with sprout and all that. Dr. Tettey, she just said, you are Esther of our time. She took it from, I don't know where she get it, but that's my thing about you. So thank you so much.
Cutie, I just want to say, so you confirmed that you're 54 years old? That's how old you are?
74.
And you're on no medications?
No. Food is my
medicine.
ever on
any Were you ever on medication?
No.
And what do you eat other than Sprouts?
I'm strictly plant-based.
Wow. When did you begin that journey? When did you start your plant-based journey?
33 years ago, working in the hospital on oncology floor. I listened to everything that the doctors were saying, and I decide I didn't even know anything. I decide I'm going to cut sugar out because I sat at the counter all the time, at the desk rather, and when all these Godiva chocolate and all these niceties comes in, I have the privilege to go in and eat what I want before the doctors would come and put their hands in it. And then I realized, I read a book once that sugar is even more dangerous for you than meat, and how a teaspoon of sugar can disable your immune system for 6 hours. And so I decided, you know what? I'm gonna cut sugar out. I did. I didn't eat the people's cookie and Godiva chocolate anymore. And I didn't have the knowledge that I have now then, but I used to wear like a size 8 and 10 dress. And when I decide, and I'm 5 feet, so what am I doing in that dress? So anyway, I started losing weight without going on a diet, because I don't believe in diet. I believe in lifestyle change. And let me tell you, Dr. Tettey just took it to another heights. Because when I was trained at New York Presbyterian Hospital. And sometimes I wasn't saying a lot of stuff because I want the people who don't understand, who don't know about plant-based, I want them to be on the forefront. I stay in the background. But let me tell you, Dr. Tettey, she is the phenomenon woman. She loves what she do, and I see how she's interested in us to become healthy. And so, oh my goodness, let me tell you, you see my book? I am into this with all my heart, and I'm sharing it. My friend here, she said she's not going to tell me anymore. She said, you got to bring people here and you got to start to train them to sprout and have a cooking class for them. So
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well,
Amen.
thank you so much for sharing. You look so beautiful. I won't ask what dress size you are because it's none of my business.
well, I could tell you, I'm down to a 4 and a 6 from 8
Wow.
and 10. Yes. And I don't diet. I just change what I eat. Plant-based all the way.
Wow. Well, you are an example and you have your whole life ahead of you. So thank you for sharing. And I'm so excited.
Thank you, Doug.
You know, it makes me, I have to tell you, I had so much resistance writing the book. It was so hard for me. Right. But I knew that in my dreams that one day someone like you would pick up that book and it would help them. And so I forced myself to write it, even though it was so hard. I wanted to quit every day, but I didn't. So thank you.
Thank God you didn't quit.
Thank you, Sister Cutie. Everybody, for those in the exercise class, I'm gonna put someone on the spot because I'm just going to. Coach Bradley is here, who we have not seen in so long. And so since Coach Bradley is here, I think Coach Bradley wants to lead the men in this sprouting initiative. I think that's why he's here. Coach Bradley, do you want to say hi? Coach Bradley used to lead some of our morning exercise classes. We haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah. Hey, how's everyone doing? It's good to see you all. It's good to be on the call. And yeah, I would love to lead the men. I'm excited. Doug, I've heard you a little bit last year, but I'm excited to do this year. And so yeah, and I have my son with me as well. So just wanted to make sure I checked out the call tonight.
Terrific.
Excellent.
How old's
go
your
ahead,
son? How old's your son, Bradley?
He actually turned 2 yesterday.
Well,
So
I
he's
can't wait to hang out with my daughter. My daughter's 20 months.
Oh, sweet. Yep. It's a beautiful thing. This is our first and only son so far. And more to come. Stay tuned.
He looks
All
happy.
right, so I'll be in touch, Coach Bradley. Good to see you. All right,
Yes,
Doug. So, all right, so before we close, I'm sorry. All right, so just gonna do a few words. I think Coach Kiwi, I think we're ready for a kick-abs class right now. We're bursting with something. We need something. So you gotta give us like a sentence or something to hold us over. But Doug, this is Coach Kiwi. Coach Kiwi, this is Doug. And I said to her, we were having a random conversation last week, and I said, I think this would be something really cool for her to do and add to her repertoire because she is just so awesome and amazing. And so you'll get to speak with her and interact with her more. But I think with what you're trying to do, Doug, having someone like Coach Kiwi at the forefront of that is going to be awesome. So you're not going to have a big conversation right now. Just wanted you guys to meet each other. And Coach Kiwi, give us one sentence of what you're feeling in this moment. Are you going to
Well,
sprout?
I gotta give you two. So Doug, first of all, these are my two books. Okay. All right, these are my two books. I got the Sprout book, well, three. I got 3 books. But I am going to take this challenge. This is a challenge for me. And I'm excited about the journey because I'm taking a new journey, a new season of my life. And I'm excited about taking this and would love to share this not only with your community, but with the community that I've built with this HeartSmarts family, which you already know is amazing. So I'm excited to be a part of this family, and I'm excited to take this journey and document it. And I'm excited to see what happens. I really am.
Wow. Well, we know what's going to happen. People are going to become unleashed. They're going to become healthy. They're going to become vibrant, and they're going to manifest all their dreams, and they're going to live in the state
Speak
of
it.
total abundance. Total
Speak it.
abundance.
Speaking, I love it. Well, that was a tag team right there. So we gave y'all the last sentence, Doug. That was I received every last one of that, all of it. So I look
Excellent.
for.
So Doug, thank you, Coach Kiwi. And Doug, I have one more person for you because she's not going to raise her own hand, so I have to raise it for her. And so this person took her sprouts to Jamaica and has been international with her sprouts, and she really is the sprouting queen. I don't know why she won't come off mute and talk about it, so I'm going to put her on with you because I think if anybody on here loves sprouts, it's Ambassador Sandra.
Okay. And let me start by saying it is such a pleasure to meet you in person again, Doug, because I think what you have done with sprouting has revolutionized a lot of our lives. We were in the process of doing it the first time around, and initially people were very hesitant because it's that lack of knowledge. Once you figure out how easy it is to do this, you wonder why this is not more widespread. More people should be aware of this. So yes, I was in the middle of a business trip and I decided I was not going to stop. So packed up my suitcase with all my sprouting thing, and I was staying with a very good friend. And she's like, "What is all of this?" And I said, "Give me 4 or 5 days." And I fixed everything the night, get it ready, soaked the next morning. And we were eating sprout for 2 weeks. And she was like, "Okay." So I sent her own kit. So yes, international is where we went. And everything is tasted. You put it in salads, you put it in smoothies, it's just the idea that you're getting so much nutrients. And when you think about the landscape of food and how lacking it is, and then you find out about sprouts and you're like, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's good for us. There's no downside. So yes, you might say I love the idea of sprouting.
Wow. Wow. Oh my God. I literally, I'm holding in my tears.
Well, Doug, we're behind you. We are here to do this. So I think everyone, we're not going to be able to sleep tonight just thinking about sprouting. But we will figure out a way to get through the night. Thank you, Ambassador Sandra. And Doug, there's one more question for you. Are microgreens and sprouts the same thing?
Microgreens and sprouts are very similar. Sprouts grow in like 2 days to 7 days, and they grow typically in a jar without soil or a sprouting medium. Microgreens grow from day 8 to day 21 or 28, and they typically grow on a flat, and they grow up. And when you're eating a sprout, you eat the entire organism. And when you're eating a microgreen, it's more of a delicacy because you eat above the fold. So with sprouts, I love them both. If someone wants to grow microgreens for me, I'll eat them all day long. But sprouts are easier to grow, they're faster, and you get more bang for the buck. But they're both very, very good.
All right. And then someone says you talked about sauces for your sprouts. Did you make your own, or are there recipes?
So there's 40 recipes in the Sprout book, and there's some recipes in the Sprouting app. But right now my go-to is like 1 tablespoon of tahini and some brine from my sauerkraut or pickles, and that creates a beautiful flavor. And if I don't have that, I'll buy either soy-based or chickpea-based miso and a little tablespoon of the miso with a little water and some tahini is a great recipe. Or you could use balsamic vinegar, which is vinegar that comes from grape skins. Or you can use a tomato sauce. It's really, there's so much that you can do, and you just season to taste. So that's it. I just avoid using oils and salts and added sweeteners. And I want to use things that are kind of savory and rich. You can just put lemon, just squeeze a half a lemon on it. You get the vitamin C and you get the additional natural acid from the lemon.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that was the last question, everyone. I think we have our marching orders. So over the next 2 weeks, you're going to get your book, start reading it. You're going to get the kit. Just be prepared. I think we should all do it together. It's really fun that first week just to see them growing as we take our pictures and do it all together. I know that HeartSmarts, we also need a break. So don't hold me to those dates necessarily that we're going to start all of this in 2 weeks, but at least get your stuff so that when we're ready to start, you are ready. And then Doug and I also have to speak about what this looks like. But if you want to be followed, one thing, if you're one of the people who want to be followed, we will need you to be able to get your numbers done. So your blood pressure, blood glucose, to get them professionally taken so that we can have them in the pre and post and throughout the process. So if you are one of those people who want to do this really seriously and be monitored and followed, then we'll need you to have a doctor, have insurance and all of that, that you can get your numbers taken and be comfortable giving them to us as well. Doug, is there a specific kit from your website that they should buy as a starter?
I mean, I really think any of the 3 kits, you could just choose any of them. They're all going to work for you. My recommendation, I would say, is the broccoli and the salad mix so that you can get a variety and start to go into the sprouts. If you want the easiest path, it's going to be the lentils and the green peas. Those are the easiest, surefire way to grow sprouts the fastest.
Okay, and then if the person said they got their sprouts from Whole Foods.
Yeah, I think that Whole Foods and farmers markets, wherever they're growing the sprouts, I think today are pretty safe. You just want to be, awake when you look at them and check the dates, smell them, make sure they look fresh and crispy. The green should be green, the white should be white. And if they look mealy or brown or slimy, I would or the dates are past, I would leave them behind. So that would be my recommendation. But I think buying sprouts to get started, I buy them when I travel. I recommend for people who don't want to sprout on their own, but want to get the benefits of sprouts, to go ahead and buy them. I think they're just fine.
Okay, awesome. All right, everyone. Well, that's it. Doug, is there anything final that you want to say to the group?
I just want to say that every one of you is blessed and that you are all the miracles of creation. And I thank you for your attention and for your support and for your openness. And you inspire me to want to do more. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug. And we look forward to doing this with you. Who would have thought that we'd come to this moment where now Doug is in HeartSmarts and we're sprouting with him as a HeartSmarts member. So look at that. All right, everyone. So you know what to do. Have a great evening. Hope you all can sleep.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This
Thank
has
you
been
so
awesome.
much.
So much.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cutie, for that testimony.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. We are blessed.
Thank you so much.
We are blessed.
Have
We
a
are
good night,
blessed.
everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Great.
Thanks. Good night. Good
Good
night.
night.
Your
Thank you, Dr.
family.
Tettey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Good
All right.
night.